I'll actually kind of deep dive a little bit more into the actual data set. So I got this movie lens data set downloaded from Kaggle. I'll leave the link to the actual data set in there. You need to have a Kaggle account. And then once you log in with your Kaggle account, you can actually really go and download the data. There are many versions of this movie lens dataset, but the link which will give you is the one which I am using. It's a little bit more exhaustive and complicated when compared to the other movie lens datasets I was looking at. So let's take a quick deep dive into the individual elements. So the whole thing comes as a zip file, and when you unzip it, is actually going to create these CSVs. So let's take a look at the uh, key aspects of each of these files. And so this will help you basically to understand the next set of videos. So let's take a look at this main dataset. The main dataset is the movie metadata. So this movie metadata dataset, actually, if you see here, it is actually a CSV file, and you have a top header with all the individual columns. And some of the columns here, if you see here, that belongs to collection. You can see that it is actually a complex JSON object. So most of these columns like that, like genres, or production countries, production companies, etc. Right? They're all pretty much JSON objects. So we will have to write Spark code to actually look at this JSON and then shred it into more relational friendly schemas. And that is what we will actually load into the Postgres database. That is what we'll actually load into the Azure Data Lake for further analysis using Synapse pools and Spark Databricks, if Databricks and dedicated pools. Right. So that's the first file, the movie metadata. Then the next file you will see is the ratings. The ratings is very straightforward, but it's a massive one because it has 26 million rows of data. So if I open this up, it's gonna it's gonna be a little bit slow because it's a huge data set, but it's not too bad. So all you have here is user ID. It's an ID of the user, movie ID, which is the ID of the movie from this movie metadata data set, and then it's going to give you a rating from 1 to 5, and the timestamp when that happened. So if you see here 1.0, 4.5, 5.0, that's actually the rating, and this is the actual timestamp. So let me close this so that it doesn't clog up the system. And then that is the so movie metadata is the main data set, and then the ratings is the ratings data set, right? So attaching to this movie metadata, there are actually other files that are linked here. So you have credits. So this credits data set will actually have for a particular movie ID, what is the cast list of all the people who have casted, and list of all the people who are a part of the crew. So you can see here, like you will see, it's a complex JSON again. What character a particular person played, what was the cast ID, and what is the credit ID, and what was the gender, etc., etc. So this is also a complex data set. So each column here is a array of JSONs. So you need to shred them using Spark, and the ID here refers to the movie ID. So moving on to the third data set here, right? So it's keywords. Keywords also is the same idea. For a particular movie ID, it's going to give us a lot of these lists of keywords. So this is kind of to tell you that what are the key aspects that are being focused on in a particular movie. So in this particular example, right, 862 movie has jealousy, and it has a toy, and it has a boy, etc. So this is the Toy Story movie, so that kind of makes sense based on the movie. If you've seen the movie, definitely that makes sense. So that's keywords. And then the links. Links is definitely the one which we don't use because it is actually linking to the TMDB and IMDb databases. We can do that later on. So if you go to the TMDB or IMDb and copy this ID and then paste it, it will actually give you the link.